My hands stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like sort of.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show, and we got some pretty much breaking news going on right now. The suspect in the Brown University shooting just a few days ago, about 5-6 days ago, it appears several reports are out there that they have found him deceased, and so we're waiting on a press conference. Let me share the screen real quick. Waiting on a press conference that's about to start any minute to kind of give us an update about this. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute this. There's a little loud there, and nothing's come out. One, it appears that they found him. There was a another video. You know what? I'm going to play this other video as well. Let me move this off to the side real quick. Let's play this video real quick, guys, because this is something that was just breaking. An image of the suspected individual. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I know I'm coming in here pretty hot, but the news conference is about to start here in a few minutes. I want to give you guys a couple of my ideas on what I think may be going on and things of that nature. So let's watch this real quick, and then we'll jump back in to the press conference, and then I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts and opinions if the press conference hadn't started by then. But this is a image of the suspect.
This is a picture of the shooter. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and my brother goes, that doesn't even look at me. He goes, but I have a hat on and
So can you explain the facility thing?
I will say that just from the initial looks of the person, it does appear to be the same build structure of the man that was a person of interest by the law enforcement and FBI not too long ago. And, you know, it does kind of look about the same size and build. So let me rewind a little bit, and then I'll let it play through.
Hat on and
So can you explain the facility thing?
It's he works at the self-storage.
Is it okay if I record you?
Yeah. He works at the self-storage over there, and he's a manager there, and the FBI was calling him, trying to find out, you know, about the, because the guy has a storage unit there.
Storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so
yep.
they were talking to them, trying to figure out everything, and so they got the information. They said, my brother's boss said, you can go home. If we need you, we'll call you back. Yeah. And my brother laughed, got in his car and started driving away, and they surrounded him, the FBI.
The FBI surrounded your brother's car.
Him, ripped him out of his car, threw him to the ground, and put rifles to his head.
That's
fucking
insane.
Assholes. And he's trying to tell him, I'm the manager. I'm the manager. You were
of
just
the storage
talking to
facility.
Me. Yeah, just talking to me. Extra space storage over there.
Extra space storage in Salem, New Hampshire.
And so they went and got his license.
So that's the gist of that. So we got to see an image of the potential person who was.
Watch what happens when a
50-year-old
man walks DHT naturally for just 90 days.
Let me close that real
Nothing
quick.
visible yet.
There we go. I don't want any of these ad stuff hitting me. Let's see. Crazy stuff. We're waiting on an update here, and I'm going to have this on. I'm just not going to have it very loud in the background, so that way I can hear it. So when they do start the press conference, we can get that going. But let's go to. Let me pull up. Where is it? This isn't it. Let me pull up the good old X count real quick and see what's going on. There's a lot of stuff, like I mentioned, that has been going out there. This lady is so Boston. And like I mentioned, there's reports that this is, here it is, Brooke Taylor. Let me share this real quick. Brooke Taylor Fox on first, or first on Fox, sorry about that. Sources confirmed to me that the suspected shooter has been found deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside the storage facility. So the storage facility that we just looked at right now, that's where it's at. I know a lot of guys are like, a lot of folks are coming in about some of the I guess information that came out before. I know there was a suspect, and I think a lot of people doxed this guy. Poor guy, man. I feel bad for you. It doesn't appear that he had anything to do with anything here. And so let's see. Yeah. All right. Nothing yet on this aspect, but there was a few things that I wanted to talk about. So let me pull up this other article I had. 1 second. Where did it go? Gosh, I think I closed down everything. Give me 1 second. Good to see everybody. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're waiting on the press conference to start. Okay, let's see. Brown University suspect. Let's see what else is coming out. Because I had a few things I wanted to bring up, but I accidentally closed them all. My bad. My mistake, guys. One of them had to do with the professor as well that passed away in Brookline. So they believe that this is somehow connected to each other. I think it had to do with a rental car. And so let me pull up the, here it is. Let's pull up this article real quick. Vehicle suspect involved in Brooklyn MIT professor's killing found in Salem. Police found the car believed to be connected to the murder of Luno Ludiero. The suspect might be connected to the shootings at Brown. So a few things that I wanted to touch on before, I guess, the press conference starts. One of the things that I noticed about the man's figure when he was walking back and forth was that he was a heavyset guy, but the way his build was kind of screamed to me an older guy, not necessarily like a younger, heavier set dude. Just kind of the way his build was, and then also the way he put his hands behind his back as he was walking back and forth. There was a second person of interest that law enforcement were looking for. And you know what? Let me pull this out so you guys aren't listening to the background noise there. But there was a second person of interest who law enforcement were looking for. And there was a video that came out that kind of showed why they were looking for him. And it showed the suspect walking up towards an intersection. And as he approached the intersection, the second person is coming to the suspect's right towards the same intersection. And the suspect sees him and turns around and runs. And then hides kind of like behind this bush. And then as the second person of interest walks closer, that person then bolts again. So what that told me was that was a person who the suspect was familiar with, whether that was a person that they knew for a while or they had just maybe had an interaction earlier that morning and they may identify them. So for instance, let's just say they met at a gas station, pumping gas or something like that. And that person saw the suspect without a mask or something of that nature. And he may be afraid that person might recognize what he's wearing or any of those things. And then if it comes back to that person, then, that could develop into an issue. Or that person was familiar with that person, meaning that that was a friend, a relative, a coworker, a student, something to that nature. So I felt that the perpetrator running away was afraid of being of some sort of recognition there. Now, I think that's why law enforcement were so interested in talking to the second person of interest, and were not, what's the word I'm looking for? They were interested in talking to the second person of interest, but we're very careful about what they not necessarily called them, but they were very much adamant about the fact that they weren't like a suspect, but there was a lot of people, including myself, who was thinking to myself that that might be just something so that they can get somebody to come forward, right? Give them a false sense of security, so to speak. And so I wasn't completely sold on that being the situation there, but uh, what ended up could have been is that now, or what ended up probably being is, hey, who is this person? Where did you have an interaction that they're afraid that you're going to be recognizing them? And from what I understand is they made contact with the second person of interest. He's come forward, he's talked to law enforcement, and they have taken all the information, from him. Now, did that lead to them, narrowing this down? It's a possibility. I think that once they got his name, and I think because before, when it came to the professor from MIT, law enforcement had came out saying basically that they weren't connected. Now, I wonder if they had surveillance, and this is what I'm thinking they had. They had some sort of surveillance. They probably saw the rental vehicle outside of the area when it came to the professor's murder. Now, when it came to identifying who this person was, they may have, let's just say, there was an interaction earlier that day between person of interest and suspect. Let's say that happened earlier, and they can figure out where that was, and then they trace it back down to said vehicle, and they run the license plate, comes back to a rental vehicle, which matches the description of the vehicle that was seen outside of the professor's home. So I'm assuming, and this is just 100% speculation at this time, none of that is fact, what I just said, if you're just tuning in. That is just my speculation of what I think is the connection there is the vehicle. I've heard that the vehicle, and it seems like there's a vehicle aspect to it. So my assumption is they didn't know they were connected until they got his name from the person of interest. And then when they got the name, or they got a situation where they were able to identify the suspect with the vehicle, then from there, my assumption is they were able to tie it in with a vehicle they may have seen out in the vicinity where the professor had passed away. So I'm thinking that's just kind of where my mind is going with this. My thoughts are that the professor shooting may have been what was the goal for what he was going to do. And I think that the secondary shooting is maybe could have been to throw off law enforcement, perhaps to make it seem like it was something that it wasn't. I think, in my opinion, when you hear that the suspect was casing the area for 5 hours before the shooting, that tells me something. That tells me, one, that it was planned to a certain extent, that the guy had some familiarity, but there may have been a moment where they were waiting for something, so they weren't completely certain, for being 5 hours ahead of time. That also means to me that based on where they attacked and where they hit, I would say that they were familiar with the area. They were familiar with Brown University. And I'm just wondering, and this is just my speculation, that if it was a distraction, so to speak, to confuse law enforcement, to make them think it was something, maybe perhaps it wasn't. But that's just kind of my thoughts here right now. I wonder if there's a connection. I haven't been able to deep dive into the victimology of the case between the victims here to determine if there's some sort of connection between the professor and perhaps one of the two victims who succumbed to their injuries at the Brown University. I know that a lot of folks think that Ella is the target, and I think her family has spoken out to certain members of media that have stated such, that law enforcement has relayed to them that they believe that may have been the situation. And so, it comes down to, this guy hit that area and he just get lucky, that she was in an area accessible through a part of the college campus that had no cameras and and had the easiest access to get in and out without being detected. Or was he aware of that and she just happened to be, in the wrong place, wrong time, and he targeted that area because he had knowledge that the camera system wasn't up to par in that area. When I think about all the possibilities here, I seem to think that the area was chosen because of that. I think he may have cased it out, waiting for an opportunity to go in there and have some folks there. I'm not familiar with what they were doing that morning. I don't know what time folks started to arrive to the building, if that played a role. Like maybe perhaps when he arrived earlier, it wasn't as occupied as it was at the time that he attacked. Maybe that played a role into the timing aspect of it. I don't know. You guys drop me your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think as well. Let's see. Heather says she knows both areas as well. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Sirius? Let's see. How's it going, mods? We're just waiting again for this to get going. From what we understand is that right now is that the suspect was found deceased in a storage facility. And at the top of the show, we showed a picture of the guy. Seemed like an older white guy, probably 40s, 30s, maybe late 30s or 40s, but I would say maybe 40s. Shorter, heavy built guy, and the build definitely does seem to match. I would not be surprised at all if the perpetrator Brown U is connected to the professor of MIT. Yep, that's what they're saying, that they are connected. I had a thing that I wanted to show you guys. So let me see if I can find it. MIT. And I had actually reached out to Heather when like a lot of this was going on, and I asked her, I was like, hey, do you think that these two things could be related? And sure enough, I think like the next day or so, today is when it comes out that they are. Let's see. So, a man suspected in shooting at Brown University has been found dead in New Hampshire, AP source says. Let me pull this up. I'm just going to pull it to the side here. I'm just going to read it. I don't want to pull it out in front of the press conference since I have that on mute in case they pull up. A man is suspected of killing 2 and wounding several others at Brown University has been found dead in New Hampshire storage facility. Law enforcement officials told the Associated Press. The man was found dead Thursday evening. Investigators believe the man is responsible for both shootings at Brown and the killing of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor who was fatally shot in his Brookline home on Monday, the official said. So they've already connected the two. It's according to, this is 27WKOW.com, referencing what law enforcement has already told the Associated Press. The Associated Press already has it that this is the person that is responsible for both shootings at the Brown University and the killing of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor. Interesting. Authorities have not formally confirmed the connection between the two shootings, though. So that's the next sentence. The official could not publicly discuss the details of the ongoing investigation and spoke to the AP on the condition of anonymity. Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. They're starting to walk in. While they walk in, authorities said Thursday that they're looking into the connection between last weekend's shooting at the Brown University and the attack 2 days later near Boston that killed a professor, or 2 days earlier, at the lead school, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And the MIT professor Nuno Luriero, his passing happened only 50 miles north of where in the suburb of Brookline.
Good evening, everybody.
Here we go.
Tonight, our Providence neighbors can finally breathe a little easier. In a minute, Colonel Perez will share the latest details on the investigation, but I want to thank the people of Providence for stepping up and coming together during an extraordinarily difficult time. I know this has been hard on all of us. Over the past 5 days, minutes have felt like hours, but the people of Providence have done what we're best at. We've leaned on one another, come together and supported one another, and showed the nation what a tight-knit community looks like. It was because of the information provided to us by neighbors and the tireless work of our Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the FBI, the ATF, and many other federal partners. The incredible prosecutorial advice and guidance that we received from the Attorney General's office. We all worked well together to be able to identify this suspect. I know we will have a lot of questions still, and we will continue to work to get those answers. But it is a great honor for me to turn this over to our Chief of Police, Colonel Oscar Perez, and I will say on behalf of the people of Providence, we owe him and every member of the Providence Police Department the deepest debt of gratitude. Colonel.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Well, first and foremost, I want to offer my deepest condolences to the families, the victims. It was for them that this work was put together to make sure that they get the justice that they deserve and to ensure that this person was held accountable. Second thing I'll tell you is that I'm extremely proud of this department, actually the officers, the detectives, the real-time crime center, the community response team, the intelligence division, the narcotics division, the task force. This past Saturday, as you all know, December 13, Providence Police Department and Brown University Police Department responded to this horrific tragedy at Brown University 184 Hope. Our officers were there within minutes. That same day, Providence Police detectives immediately went to work. Looking for video footage to see who this individual was and who was responsible. A person of interest was identified from that video footage. The person of interest was observed down Hope Street, turning onto Waterman Street, and that was one of the first videos that we released. At the same time, every federal agency you can think of was reaching out to the Providence Police Department and responded to the capital city. Images were shared with media within hours. Persons of interest it was the same individual that has been the focus of this investigation since the beginning. All the new images that we received of this person of interest were shared with the media continuously over the past 6 days. This critical evidence was collected with the use of public assistance. As the mayor stated, I'm proud to be the chief of police of this city. I'm proud to be a product of this city for the reasons that the mayor stated. The community stepped up. It was all about groundwork, public assistance, interviews of individuals, and good old-fashioned policing. That is the type of police work that every police officer in this nation reminds themselves of, and that many do not understand. And that is critically important and often succeeds where technology alone cannot. We looked at financial records, we looked at video footages, and in the specific incident, it was actually a video that provided us with a description of a vehicle. That was corroborated through a tip that was received to the tip center. That room was packed with detectives, agents receiving calls on a daily basis. We started early and left late. Then Flock and the LPR was able to provide us with this description of this vehicle. That vehicle was picked up by Flock, which led us to a car rental place in Massachusetts. Through that, the agents and their work as well were able to get us footage of this individual, as well as a copy of the agreement, which provided his real name. The video of that subject matched the description of that person of interest that this police department was desperate to put handcuffs on. That individual was identified as Claudio Nueves Valente, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student. He was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida. And I will tell you that he took his own life tonight. We have members of the Providence Police Department up in Salem, New Hampshire. And we also have the BCI unit. Obviously, the FBI and their evidence recovery unit is up there. So the process is being conducted as we speak. And it goes without saying that I would like to personally thank the efforts again of the Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the FBI, the ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshals, IRS, DEA, Secret Service, and NCIS. There is no way that we could have done this by ourselves. In this nation, when horrific incidents like this happen, law enforcement steps up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. General Ronan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's, I would describe the emotions on the investigative team, including our prosecutors and the agents, detectives from both state police, Providence, as mixed. You know, there is a sense of completeness in terms of the investigation, an investigation that's, if not the hardest, among the handful of hardest investigations that I've ever been involved with. And the sense that we owed those 2 dead Brown students and the 9 injured Brown students and the students who were in that auditorium that weren't injured, and the Brown community and the Providence community results. The teams worked really hard. I think I mentioned that to you almost every night that we met with you. I wish they were all up here with us. That we wouldn't fit here, but it's just was remarkable to see the cooperation between the FBI agents, the ATF agents, the HSI agents, the Providence police detectives, the state police detectives, our prosecutors. And I will say that everybody brought a certain expertise to the table, but it is nevertheless a sad moment when you think about those young people who were hurt, injured, or worse, 2 of them are now deceased. You know, to me, this was always going to be an investigation where something was going to break it open. We were going to pull threads. We were going to gather evidence that would lead us in a particular direction. And I will say that if we were with you less than, well, I guess now more than 24 hours ago, we had that picture of that second individual. And I would say within an hour, no more than 2, I think it was under an hour, that person came forward to 2 Providence police officers over on the east side and said he had information, that he was that person, and he had information that could help this case. And I remember last night watching his interview, and he blew this case right open. He blew it open. And that's how these cases sometimes go. You can feel like you're not making a lot of progress. You can feel like you're chasing leads and they don't work out. But the team keeps going because, you know, those of us with experience know that you're going to pull a lot of threads, and it's not always the first one that's going to get you where you need to go. But when you do crack it, you crack it. And that person led us to the car, which led us to the name, which led us to the photographs of that individual renting the car, which matched the clothing of our shooter here in Providence that matched the satchel that we see here in Providence. He was found dead with a satchel with 2 firearms and evidence in the car that that matches exactly what we see at the scene here in Providence. And so I know that you and the public have questions about how we got from a place yesterday where all we could share with you was a photograph of someone we wanted to talk to where we got to tonight. And so we got an state arrest warrant for murder today that was signed by a district court judge for this individual. There won't be a prosecution now, of course, but that affidavit is on our website, and you will be able to see more and read more about how this investigation unfolded. I won't get you all the way there because there are some things that happened afterwards which led us to this suspect's body in New Hampshire, but it will, I think, tell you, give you a sense of the work that went into this by the line prosecutors and the line agents and detectives from the agencies that work so well together. So, as I said, it's with mixed emotions. It is unimaginable, the pain that the parents and families of the deceased are feeling tonight and will feel undoubtedly for quite a while. But I hope that by bringing this person to justice, that we can at least give them the beginnings of some measure of closure. And I want to thank you all for your patience with me when I got a little testy with some of you. Those of you who know me from Rhode Island, you know that's my nature. So I really want to thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, General. As has been said several times, the partnership with the FBI was invaluable. And so it's a pleasure to introduce Special Agent in Charge of FBI, Ted Dox.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. My name is Ted Dox, Special Agent in Charge of FBI Boston. We got him. Shortly before 9 o'clock tonight, the FBI SWAT team executed court-authorized search warrants at a storage unit facility in Hampshire Road in Salem, New Hampshire. This is where we located Claudio, Nueves, Valente, the individual who we believe was responsible for the Brown shooting. The latest developments in an intense 5-day manhunt, and as a result of an incredible amount of work dedicated by the law enforcement team standing here before you tonight. Every single agency brought their unique skills and expertise to this investigation. And we're motivated by the victims and survivors of this horrific incident. Even though the suspect was found dead tonight, our work is not done. There are many questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of evidence that needs to be processed. And most importantly, the victims and their families deserve special care and consideration. The FBI and our partners across Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire will continue to search for answers for the victims, survivors, and their families to see what motivated this individual to carry out such a senseless act of violence. From the onset of this critical incident, it's been all hands on deck. The FBI deployed approximately 500 special agents, analysts, task force officers, and support personnel to assist our partners in this investigation. In addition to this extra manpower, all our specialty teams were activated, including Evidence Response Team, SWAT, Divert, and Victim Services Response Team, just to name a few. A special thanks to you, the media, as well as to the community. My sincere thanks to Colonel Perez, Colonel Weaver, AG Nerona, Brown University PD, and all of our partners. This was truly a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Another critical partner at every step along the way was the ATF. I'd like to introduce Special Agent in Charge of the ATF, Tom Greco.
Good evening. My name is Tom Greco, a Special Agent in Charge of ATF Boston. From the moment 911 reports of the shooting at Brown University came through, there's been an around-the-clock effort to identify the perpetrator and to protect the community. The men and women of ATF, including our special agents, our intelligence research specialists, and our support personnel, have been proud to support and be part of that effort, leveraging our unique experience, dedicated investigators, canine handlers, and crime gun intelligence technology, such as NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network, to compare ballistic evidence, and our other available tools to support the investigation, and to help identify Claudio Nueves Valente as the individual that we believe was responsible. ATF's mission, first and foremost, is to protect communities from violent crime. Each individual in this country deserves to live in peace and security in their homes, in their schools, in their places of worship, and in the streets. The actions of Claudio Nueves Valente stole that right and terrorized the community. I'd like to emphasize to the public, this was a highly dangerous individual capable of extreme violence. And we're happy to have been part of this investigation and proud to have worked with our partners to identify him and see this through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From the very outset on Saturday, from our first press conference in the fire station to today, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee has been by Providence's side every step of the way. The city of Providence is incredibly grateful for the governor's support, the state police, not just their assistance with the investigation, but in supporting the broader community. It's a pleasure to introduce Governor Dan McKee.
Thanks, Mayor, and clearly your staff, I feel the same way with the team that you have, that we were happily able to assist. And as a former mayor, many of here in the audience know that I've been a mayor, some don't, but I empathize and sympathize with the position that you were in and the fact that you needed people to follow the lead of the Providence police and to partner in with some extraordinary people, whether it's with the FBI or the ATF, and of course our state police as well. From the very beginning, my thoughts as a dad was with the families who suffered from the shooting. The unthinkable happened in our state. The unthinkable happened in Providence. The unthinkable happened at Brown University. And we're going to be forever changed. But our commitment from the state level is to continue to support Providence, Brown, and the people of the state of Rhode Island in the recovery. That's going to take a great deal of time. But I do say this. The professionalism that I saw in the law enforcement should make everyone that lives in our state and beyond our borders feel very safe. These things happen, but it requires some professional help and law enforcement to bring it to the conclusion that we've been able to bring it to. So Colonel, thank you, everybody involved. And again, we will stand with Providence and Brown University and the people of the state of Rhode Island to provide the help that will be needed in the recovery in a trauma like this.
Thank you, Governor. Throughout the year, the Rhode Island State Police is an incredible partner to Providence, but during this investigation, their support was invaluable. I introduce Colonel of State Police, Colonel Weaver.
My name is Colonel Darnell Weaver, the Superintendent of the Rhode Island State Police. I want to begin by recognizing the excellent and exceptional efforts of the Providence Police Department and Colonel Oscar Perez. From the very first moments of this investigation, the Providence Police Department has worked collaboratively and relentlessly day and night on this investigation while protecting our capital city. Their detectives followed facts, developed evidence, and pursued every credible lead. Colonel Perez's leadership has been steady and decisive, focused on identifying the person responsible for this tragedy. As always, our troopers stepped up, working shoulder to shoulder with the Providence Police and our local, state, and federal partners. I want to give particular recognition to our detectives whose diligence and dedication contributed to this investigation. Our detectives and division leadership operated as a unified team, sharing intelligence, resources, and expertise. This has truly been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, as virtually every trooper has taken extra shifts to help support the efforts in Providence, and I have never been prouder to be a member of the Rhode Island State Police. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Rhode Island State Police, and this case stands out among one of the most challenging in our state's history. The sheer volume of digital evidence, the complexity of the investigation, and the intense public interest played an extraordinary demands on everyone involved. Despite that pressure, investigators remain disciplined, methodical, and focused on facts. We are grateful for the assistance of the public, particularly those who shared our information, provided tips, and gave us doorbell camera footage and access to their property. We are also thankful for the ongoing support of Rhode Islanders. We know that you have been with us through this entire investigation. I also want to be very clear about something else. Criminal investigations are grounded in evidence, not speculation or online commentary. The endless barrage of misinformation, disinformation, rumors, leaks, and clickbait were not helpful in this investigation. Distractions and unfounded criticisms do not support this work. They complicate it and threaten to undermine the justice we seek for the victims and the grieving families. Despite these challenges, good police work prevailed, and we have lessons that we can bring forward from these long days ahead. To the Brown University community and the people of Rhode Island, be assured that this case reflects the law enforcement community and what we are capable of, and that we are committed to this state. We will continue to support the victims and the broader community as the healing continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel.
Providence is so proud to be home to Brown University, and we are committed to working together with them in the future as they help heal their community as we do our broader Providence community. We continue to give condolences to the deceased and our prayers to those who are recovering. The leader of Brown has been a great partner through this whole process. I'd like to introduce President Christina Paxson from Brown University.
Thank you. Nothing can really fully bring closure to the lives that have been shattered over the past week, but this may allow our community to move forward and begin a path of repair and recovery and healing. I want to thank the dedicated law enforcement agencies that have worked so tirelessly on this case, really around the clock, as well as our neighbors and others who participated in giving tips and helping with the investigation. We hope that this outcome tonight brings an increased sense of safety for our community at Brown and in the surrounding area. This has been a period of great fear and anxiety for many people, and now perhaps some form of relief. Truly, this week has been devastating for our community in a number of ways, including the experiences that members of our community have had with being targeted by online rumors and accusations. And I hope that this development also means an end to this truly troubling activity. So we remain focused on the safety and security of our community and in support for the victims of this senseless violence. Now, we know the public and our own Brown community members will want to know more about the individual now identified by law enforcement as the suspect in last weekend's shooting. And we can confirm the following to the best of our knowledge, based on our review in the very short time since law enforcement authorities made us aware of this development. And we provided this information to law enforcement as they build their case and wrap up the investigation. So Claudio Manuel Nueves Valente was enrolled at Brown from the fall of 2000 to the spring of 2001. He was admitted to Brown's graduate school to study in the Master's of Science PhD program in physics, beginning on September 1st, 2000. And he took a leave of absence effective April 2001 before formally withdrawing effective July 31st, 2003. During his time at Brown, Nueves Valente was enrolled only in physics classes. The majority of physics classes at Brown have always been held within the Barus and Holley classrooms and labs. Now, detailed records indicating where specific courses were held don't extend back to 2001. But we can say that physics classes typically require access to specialized equipment, including demonstration carts that are a fixed asset in some of Barus and Holley classrooms. So I think it's safe to assume that this man, when he was a student, spent a great deal of time in that building for classes and other activities as a PhD student in physics. He has no current active affiliation with the university or campus presence. So again, we thank law enforcement and so many others for their extensive work on this case, day and night, and we look forward to a sense of restored safety for Brown, Providence, and the Rhode Island communities. Thank you.
Oh, there's a connection with your
Thank you,
MIT
President
professor.
Paxson.
He was
The
a
last speaker, and then we will take your questions. It's the Chief of the Brown Police Department, Chief Chapman. Remember, his officers were the first to respond on Saturday, and we are so grateful for both their immediate and heroic response and their partnership over the last 5 days. Chief.
That's your connection to the MIT professor. This guy was a PhD.
I want to express my ongoing prayers and care concern for our entire community. I certainly also want to acknowledge and thank the men and women of the Brown University Police and Public Safety for their efforts. As you see, this was a Herculean task and required a lot of collaboration and work. And our officers and our public safety personnel were shoulder to shoulder with these assets. I do want to also thank all of you who have helped citizens and law enforcement. That partnership and collaboration means the world to us, and we couldn't have gotten there without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
We'll now open up to questions. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What led authorities to link the incidents between Brown University and MIT?
That's a good question. That's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll just tell you that a lot of the information and evidence that we ended up gathering linked us to a connection up in Massachusetts, but obviously at the MIT. But I feel a respect to the authorities in Mass as well as the FBI that's for them to come in. But I'll tell you that the groundwork that started in the city of Providence by our detectives, the detective division under the command of Major LaPayne, as well as the federal partners that we had in our room upstairs, and ATF, the FBI, led us to that connection. And so that was great work.
Special FBI, well, does FBI want to weigh in on that? And then I have a follow-up.
I think through that particular link that you're talking about, that case is being worked out of Massachusetts with the leadership of U.S. Attorney Leah Foley. I believe that they're having a press conference today as well, where they'll reveal more to the general public at that time. I'd be remiss to start and kind of talk on this, to let them kind of have first dibs to kind of be the ones to tell the public about those particular links.
And your follow-up.
But your follow-up, sir.
As for the second person who came forward, what did that person tell you, and did that person know the shooter?
So yeah, obviously I had mentioned at the last press conference that it was a person that we wanted to speak with. The work of the video collections that we had led us to identify that there was a person that actually encountered this individual. So it corroborated everything that we saw. We saw a person of interest. We saw that there was a vehicle involved. When this person came in, broke the case in the sense that explained to us exactly what we thought we had seen and put that individual at the crime scene. Obviously, that was the break, because we knew that we were in the right direction to ensure that we were going after this individual. Obviously, took his life.
Go ahead. And it sounds like what I was saying earlier at the beginning.
Did Mr. Valente act alone, and is there
That was
an
right.
anti-Semitism component behind this, do you expect?
As far as we know, Steve, he acted alone.
And is there an anti-Semitism component to this?
No, that we know of, no.
John.
Colonel, what was the events that led to the storage facility? So was he pursued there? Did he know authorities were going after him? When was he last alive? Like, how did that play out?
So it plays out in the sense that we obviously, I just stated, we collected all the evidence. We were able to learn that there was a rental vehicle. We learned about that vehicle. There was financial records that were verified by the FBI, obviously, and other agencies. I'm sorry, actually. So another agency, so multiple agencies that verified financial records that brought us to that site to know that he had actually rented a site at the storage unit. And then we ended up in Salem.
In a follow-up.
Yeah.
When he did that, did he know authorities were coming, or did he just go and, like, how long had he been in that storage unit?
That we're not aware of, John, in the sense that all we knew is that we were on a manhunt, and that's what he led us to. So.
Amanda.
Okay, Chief.
I don't think he understands the question.
So he graduated, he did graduate, he was at Brown more than 20 years ago. His last known address was in Miami, but now he's here at Brown University, potentially also at MIT. What do you know about what brought him up here?
There's going to be unknown answers that we have no answer as far as that. Obviously, came up here and committed this horrific incident and this tragedy, and that's all we knew. Our mission was to ensure that we could find him and bring him to justice. But yeah, no, at this point, correct.
And my follow-up is of the evidence that you collected. Have you
He
collected?
just found him.
That you believe was used in the shooting. Have you collected any type of manifesto or evidence? Have you planned for shooting?
So as far as I know, that's the FBI evidence recovery team is up in Salem, New Hampshire, and they're collecting whatever evidence is up there. This happened just now, as before we came up here.
Bill.
Any criminal history, political affiliations, any social media posts, anything of that sort that you can report to us about Mr. Valente?
Nothing that I know of. Steve.
Behind him. Go ahead.
You could not find his Facebook. He's been scrubbed already.
Nothing that we know of. No.
In the way back.
Special Agent Docs, can you also tell us if there, the connection, I know you said you can't talk too much about the MIT, but the fact that it was a physics professor at MIT and in the physics building and he was studying physics, have you tied all that up, and does that lead, why target one person in Massachusetts and then a whole class here in Providence?
Yes, it is true that Mr. Valente was a physics student. Also, we know that the MIT, the victim there, was in that discipline as well. I will tell you that there's multiple phases to an investigation. And so now, in a sense that we know the subject is deceased. Now that investigation continues to find out all of those answers to your question, sir.
Did you go to school with Professor? Did you go to school with Professor who killed the Brown incident?
It is believed that in Lisbon, that those two individuals attended the same university in Portugal.
You have a follow-up in the back.
Oh, wow. So they did know each other.
Muy poquito.
Go for it.
Sorry, empiezo desde el principio.
Lo que nos pueda resumir acerca del caso, ¿qué fue lo que conllevó a que ustedes pudieran dar con el paradero del sospechoso y las conexiones que tuvieron? ¿Cómo llegaron a rastrearlo y más que nada a qué atribuye todo esto?
So the question was if I can briefly explain how we got to this individual and what occurred. So, verdaderamente lo que pasó, obviamente el incidente del sábado 13 nos llevó a tomar evidencias, colectar evidencias de videos, de informaciones, y expliqué que es muy importante el trabajo de los policías, los detectives en el piso, haciendo el trabajo duro, recolectando videos, recolectando testimonios. En este tipo de casos recibimos información, obviamente, de los videos que colectamos, nos dimos cuenta que había un vehículo de interés y una persona de interés desde el principio. Eso nos llevó a después informarnos de la placa del carro, la descripción del carro, y eso nos llevó a darnos cuenta de que esa persona había rentado el vehículo en una compañía en Massachusetts. Después de que fue a Massachusetts, cogimos videos de la persona. Esa persona era en la misma descripciones de la persona de interés de nosotros acá en la ciudad de Providence. De ahí pasamos con los agentes federales a investigar un poco más y llegamos a los récords financieros que nos llevó a Salem, New Hampshire, en esta noche. Allá hubo una entrada táctica del equipo del FBI y encontramos que esta persona se había quitado la vida ellos mismos. Ahora estamos investigando más si hay algo que necesitamos saber más de él.
Alex.
He just said basically everything he said earlier, except that they are now seeing if there's more for him. They're investigating him more. But he said, I understand Spanish.
The FBI recovery team and forensics are up in Salem, New Hampshire. At this point, we don't have any of that.
Any indication of why now? What's the significance behind why this happened on Saturday?
That we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we know the answer to that question. I think there's a lot of unknowns with respect to motive. I mean, I think that the real issue here is the key was to identify this person, as we talked about yesterday. I think there are other answers that are coming, but once we were able to identify him, thanks to that individual who came forward, who led us to a plate, which led us to a rental car, which led us to that he rented that car in his own name.
The individual that came
that
forward
really broke the case open. But in terms of why Brown, I think that is a mystery. I think there may be something going on in Massachusetts that I'm not fully familiar with because we're working this angle, but I think the Massachusetts authorities may be able to share that. Yeah, I don't think we have any idea why now or why Brown, why these students, why this classroom. That is really unknown to us, and it may become clear. I hope that it does, but it hasn't as of right now.
Fox, go ahead.
This is for the Colonel or the Attorney General. At 2:16, was a surveillance video that showed the second person that apparently blew this case wide open, and also Mr. Valente. You see them disappear behind bushes. Was this second person following the shooter? Did he recognize him and confront him? What was that interaction like? And I have a follow-up.
That's a great question, and I'll be all explained in the affidavit that the general stated that will be released. But I'll give you a brief sort of explanation about that. The person that we wanted to speak with had an interaction with this individual earlier in the day, then observed him later at that time where you just stated, and decided that he was going to encounter him and asked him why he was inside Brown. At that point, the subject of interest, Nueves, actually ran. He was caught up by our person that we wanted to speak with. There was sort of a conversation between the two of them, and Nueves asked him, "Why are you harassing me?" And at that point, the person that broke the case walked away. And that information was critical to us because he was able to corroborate what our detectives were seeing on video, and he was able to provide a great explanation.
And my follow-up question
Yes.
is, why did it take a citizen to notice a suspicious person right next to Brown University and not the police? And also, how long was
Great
the
question.
vehicle parked where it was? And was it days, hours, minutes?
It appeared to be days as far as the evidence. Why would a civilian observe that to be suspicious? It's a great point. And I like the fact that you're mentioning that I'm bringing that up. That's what we should all be doing, right? And it's just personality. Some people are more interested in finding out what others are doing. In this particular case, this person decided that he wanted to, and I'm glad he did.
Law enforcement should do that too.
In the back.
Now that the suspect, Attorney General, now that the suspect
That's the job of the cops.
can you explain what he yelled in the classroom to America tonight so people can
Sure.
feel a little more comfortable?
Sure.
Was it something, terrorist related? Was it something specific to the kids in that class?
Yeah.
What did he say? Can you now tell us?
Yeah, well, back to that question just for a minute, just to clarify that. They had a interaction in the bathroom in Barus Holley. So, I don't know, the Providence Police is obviously not going to patrol Barus Holley. That's a question frankly, for Brown and their police department. So they had an interaction there, and then our citizen, followed him out because to him, as he explained it to us, this guy did not belong there. And so that's why he followed him out. In terms of what was said, I don't know any more today than what I told you yesterday, or the day before. There are some witnesses who said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that we are aware of as we stand before you tonight. And we have spoken to everybody that we have been able
Talking
to
a lot with
locate
his
who's been
hands right
inside
there.
that building.
I didn't notice that before when he was talking. Maybe he was, but it sounds like he's uncomfortable with that question.
Massachusetts, and I know you said the people in Norfolk County investigated the mass, but you did say a few days ago that you talked to the colonel of the state police and said there was no connection between Brookline and what happened here in Rhode Island. But now you're saying there was a connection. So are you saying that he shot up Brown University? Then 2 days later, he was at this house in Brookline to shoot this MIT professor, and then he just—
He's shaking his head yes. He's probably going to say he can't answer, but he's shaking his head yes.
No, I think that's a great question. My actual statement was that we didn't see a connection at that time, but absolutely I spoke to the colonel. Right now, that case is being resided over by U.S. Attorney Leah Foley. They're having a press conference at 10 o'clock tonight, I believe. I think at that time, they will speak to that particular case. I would be getting a little bit ahead of my skis if I spoke to that case without consultation with Leah Foley and her team, as we've been in the trenches working this up to the minute today, sir.
Because 2 days ago, you didn't know they were connected. Now you're saying they appear.
Yes, and that's how cases often go. I would say at that time, when that question was asked of me, there was no indication of a link at that time. As we've talked throughout this week, these breadcrumbs develop, and we'll see what she has to say today at 10 p.m.
Yeah, if I could just want to jump in here on that, please. I just want to jump in here on that because it's a good question. It's an important one. So just to put everyone's mind at ease who's listening now, he didn't just drive to some random storage area. We found records with the help of the FBI and others that was his storage area. So he rented a car in Boston. He drove it. We were able to find that car in New Hampshire. We were able to find evidence in the car from looking at it from the outside that connected this individual to our crime scene here in Rhode Island. We were able to find visual evidence of him inside that storage facility, which in my judgment matches him to the Massachusetts scene. So you'll hear more, as the special agent said, but there is no question that was his storage unit, that he had a particular car, that we found that car because of this citizen coming forward and giving us a description of the car. And then our individual who came forward, we knew he was telling the truth because we could see it on the videotape. And so that was a series of things that broke this case. And that led us to Salem, where the suspect was found dead.
Staff.
Believed to be living in Miami. Did he fly here at some point? How long was he in Providence for? And when did he obtain the gun?
Probably the vehicle, the rental vehicle.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he did, like I said, it'll be in the afternoon, but he did fly into Providence, I believe, early October, I believe.
Oh, he's been there a minute.
That's the right date. What was the other question? I'm sorry, Steph.
And did he buy the guns here? Where did he get the guns?
So I'm sorry, I can't answer. Yeah.
We don't know the answer to that, Seth, as we stand here right now.
Okay, you can't fly with them, so assuming he got them sometime after he arrived.
Well, that's possible. What we do know is that he was moving around New England in that October, November, December area. You remember, we just we know that there's a body in New Hampshire. We know that there are guns at the scene. It still remains to be examined, comparing those guns to the ballistics evidence we have in Rhode Island. And I imagine they'll do that in Massachusetts. But again, that's somebody else's investigation. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we match the DNA. But we are 100% confident that this is our target and that this case is closed from a perspective of pursuing people involved.
And Steph, just to add, I think Special Agent Doc stated, obviously we didn't know who he was. And so it's very difficult to know what a person did prior without any knowledge of who that person is.
Dan.
Can I just ask Special Agent this question? It sounds like from everything everybody's saying that the person who came forward to speak to you is kind of a hero in this story in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
We know that there's a $50,000 reward.
Mhm.
Did he get the reward?
You know, I will say that in this particular situation, that individual will likely get absolutely some aspect out of that award. We've had a lot of other tips, I will tell you as well, that have come in from the public. And so I don't deal typically with the distribution of those rewards. But I mean, it would be logical to think that absolutely that individual would be entitled to some of that reward. Yes, sir.
Second row, red shirt. Go ahead. Yeah, you.
Thank you. Fox News Digital, do we know when or how the suspects left Providence? For the colonel.
Well, we know he left Providence and committed a homicide in another state. And that, but we don't know. I'm sorry, how did he leave?
No, so do we know when he left Providence?
Yeah, when he left, that's what as far as we know that he left, but we didn't, I believe his last activity was obviously when we found out he was in another state committing another crime.
Pat.
Pat Ford, Coalition Radio. I'll throw this out.
They make it sound like the MIT shooting was after the Brown shooting. It was the other way, wasn't it?
For the last few days has been an outreach, ultimately.
Maybe it was that way.
Rhode Island and people of New England to track.
Maybe I got it
individuals
backwards.
down. While at the same time, we've got this sort of passive aggressive criticism of individuals who are being actively asked to engage via social media, who are wildly spreading rumors, some of which couldn't have possibly emanated.
He did know the
anywhere
MIT
than law
professor.
enforcement.
They went to school in Portugal
So anyone
together.
like to respond to that? I mean, it's kind of condescending to a lot of people. I know, Governor Key, if you're confused, that's not uncommon, but the.
All right, that's uncalled for. All right, we're moving on. Current. No, current.
Moving forward with the case breaking tip, was that information originally posted online? Or was that person encouraged to come forward based on what people online?
Correct. There was a tip that was placed online, and obviously we were doing our due diligence to find out who that tipster was. And then we were able to identify this person who we wanted to speak with. And then we learned that that person was actually the same person that put the tip on that up that you're speaking about.
Brian.
I'm sorry?
Does that person live in the area?
It was the same person that we brought into the police station to speak with.
The
Brian.
images that you showed at the beginning, where you can see Mr. Valente's face, where were those images taken from?
They were taken from the car rental business place that we learned about that.
None of them were Brown.
No.
President Paxson, if you could.
And I have those images up here. These are the images they're talking about.
The suspected gunman and this other person had an encounter in the engineering building hours before the shooting. I had been told by an employee that there have been concerns raised at Brown previously about people getting in the building. Have you heard those, and was anything done to address those concerns about people getting into the building?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think we're going to have to look back and say, you know, we don't know how this person got in. We don't know when they came in. We do know that the building was unlocked that day for exams, and that's something we're going to have to
Had you
look
heard
into.
concerns from staff members in the past?
I
about
have
security of the
not
building?
personally heard concerns, but yeah.
Dan.
President Paxson, Dan Jay from NBC 10. I want to go back to the question I asked you Saturday night when I first arrived on the scene. There were no cameras in this building. And law enforcement, some that are standing up behind you, have said, if Brown had cameras in that part of the building, we would have gotten this guy. And it may have stopped this swirling action. Can you answer that question for me?
Well, I don't think we have said the locations of cameras at Brown. We
But
have
there's no cameras in that
we
building
have
because why would they take it from a rental car agency?
we have 1,200 cameras at Brown.
But not in that building.
We have some in that building. It's a large complex. And I think what you would see is the video evidence in this case, from my perspective, I'm not a law enforcement agent, has been incredibly helpful. The moving of the person around the neighborhood, those video images, they help crack this case. So I think video was important. And as the Attorney General explained at a recent press conference, this individual was not spending his time on the Brown campus. He came into a building on the edge of the campus. He left. He was in the neighborhoods. The investigation focused on the neighborhoods. The video was there. And that was really, really instrumental in cracking the case.
And
But
my
you
second-
can ask them.
And this is my follow-up. Madam President, please say at the podium. Yes, video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in a confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building. Just say it so we can get this over. And my next question is, will you put
Dan, you got
cameras?
one follow-up.
Will
Yeah.
you put the cameras in that building? Will
Yeah.
there be more cameras in that building?
Yeah, you know, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building, it had anything to do with what happened there. And we will
Thank
go
you, Madam
forward.
President.
Thank you.
Chris. Tom.
Tom from the WPRO. Colonel Perez, I'm hearing from sources that the person that identified the shooter happened to be a homeless person that either lived around or inside that Barus Holley building. Can you confirm more about this person for us? And then I have a follow-up for President Paxson.
I'll tell you, there was a person that was pretty attentive about his surroundings. I'll tell you, there was a person that was very cooperative and helpful to this investigation. And I'll tell you that he was a great individual that actually assisted us in getting us to this point where we're at. I'll tell you that.
Brown graduate?
He was, yes.
I have to say, he was incredibly articulate, and his testimony, had we needed it, would not only have been credible, it would have been persuasive. He was as outstanding a witness as I've seen, and he deserves a lot of credit. You know, recognizing there's a gunman on the loose, that the gunman knows he had this interaction with him, and he didn't. Once he knew that we were looking for his help, I mean, he came forward within an hour, and that person deserves a tremendous amount of credit. I don't know whether he's going to get the reward or not, but if I had a vote, he would.
All right, Tom, you got to follow. Are you done? Go ahead.
My question was for the Chair, if you wouldn't mind. In October, the Brown Daily Herald reported that you had a vote of no confidence in your leadership, and students were concerned for their safety and the fact that you had prioritized desk jobs over having over field jobs and having more people patrolling the campus. Now, in light of this, do you accept any kind of responsibility for this? And now that we've given these prior warnings, are you going to reevaluate how the Brown Police operate in the future now, so this doesn't happen again and these students can feel more safe on campus when they return?
Great. So as I stated earlier, I'm profoundly proud of the men and women of public safety and profoundly proud of our police department. We will continue with the heroic work that they've done and continue to work side by side with our partners. And everything else that comes with that is a continual effort to do what is best for the safety and security of our campus.
But will you reassess how the people are allocated within your department?
Every single day, we work and endeavor to keep our campus safe, whatever that entails and all that entails.
In the back.
Yes, Timothy. I was wondering, I think this is a question for the Colonel. Can you talk about, you said that 2 weapons were found in Melissa's car. Was that one of those weapons, the gun that was used to shoot here in Brown? Has that weapon been found? Can you speak to that?
That's all part of this continuing investigation. This just before we came downstairs, actually, as you all were watching, that was developing up in Salem, New Hampshire.
Can you say when the weapons were purchased?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, those firearms were found at the deceased body, not in a car. So he killed himself inside the storage unit, and the firearms were found at his in the area of his thigh and in the area of his feet. It was not in a car. There was evidence that was observed from outside the car that matched our crime scenes, meaning mask, clothing, satchel, which you can see on that video. And there was a main plate over a Florida plate. This guy was changing plates. One of the reasons it was so hard to find was he knew what he was doing. He was changing plates. And so, that's why the collective work of following and finding this car was made more difficult, because this guy was changing plates. So we got a main plate and we got a Florida plate on the same car in New Hampshire.
Patrick.
As he was.
Interesting.
I'm sorry.
That's interesting.
I was just going to add.
Please.
Tom Greco again from ATF. It's okay.
As far as the ballistics evidence, I know that the last question concerned matching the guns found to the crime scene. As several people up here have said, this investigation is ongoing and in many ways, in some ways, just beginning. So those weapons that were found at the scene, we will be using our tools such as NIBIN to compare the ballistic evidence to see if we have any matches. So we use those tools to rule things in and to rule them out as well. So we'll be following up on that throughout the remainder of the investigation. Patrick.
Nueves Valente was a Portuguese national. Under what status was he in the country, and how did he get into the country? Do we know at this point? I have a follow-up after that.
You have that answer? Yeah, I think, yeah, I do. So as far as we know, he had a student visa. He had came in here with a student visa, and we also had learned that he had applied to get a green card.
Do we know, as I have a question, and for President Paxson, does Brown have
And Patrick, if I could just be clear on that, he got that lawful permanent resident status in September of 2017.
Thank you. I was going to ask, but then, and for President Paxson, has Brown had any communication from Nueves Valente in the period after he left until now?
As far as I know, no. He has really gone off our radar. We will continue to cooperate with the police as they continue with the investigation to find anything we can find about him. But his last class that he took at Brown was in 2001.
Straight back.
This question's for the Colonel or the Attorney General. If you hadn't focused on the wrong person of interest on day one, do you think the professor in Massachusetts would be alive?
Well, from the beginning, I've told you that this investigation is extremely complex and intense. And so we used every resource as soon as we responded to the call. I stated that earlier. I'm proud of the men and women of this department. Yes, we did find somebody that we thought obviously was the person, but we continued on. We continued on investigating. We continued on canvassing the areas. We continued on with video. And that's why we ended up where we're at now.
Yeah, if I could just jump in here, I just want to continue to answer that question. It's an important one. And the answer to that is this, and I tried to convey it a couple of days ago. We broke ourselves out into teams. So while the Providence team and the state police team and the ATF team were working here in Providence to follow up leads, develop whatever video evidence we can, which eventually led to all the steps that you've seen and are laid out in the affidavit, which is on our website, and it is multiple pages. You'll see the progression. So while the FBI were working Coventry, we were working here. Now, you may ask, well, what was it about Coventry that made us, for those of us who've been in law enforcement for a long time, why did we have to run that lead to ground? Here's why. When the FBI confronted him, initially, he was not cooperative. When they entered the room to secure it, there were guns in the room. One of them had a laser sight. The witnesses had told us there was a laser sight used in the course of the attack. Okay, we had to run that to ground. We couldn't just not run that to ground. That was a very promising lead. But that's why you don't get over your skis about, and word choice is important. So while we had to test those ballistics and test the DNA off those guns, and that DNA ruled this guy out, okay? But we had to run that lead to ground. But while we're running that lead to ground over the course of Sunday, for the most part, my memory's correct, we were working other leads, which eventually led us through a recreation by the great work of the team, including the marshals, by the way, that are up here. Movements, image of our cooperating witness comes in, and you've heard the rest. So, this is the way these investigations work. You don't chase one and stop. We have chased more than one lead over the course of the last 4 to 5 days. There was one lead that we followed, didn't work out. There was another lead that we followed, didn't work out. There was another lead that we followed, didn't work out. So that's at least in my mind 5 different leads that one worked out, 4 didn't. But you're running them all down at the same time. So I can't offer any comfort in that regard. But I don't believe that we would have found this person any sooner, given the evidence that was available to us.
Way back.
Can you say why it took so long to get the tipster's tip? It looks like he posted on Reddit on Monday and then said on Reddit that he told the FBI. Was it lost in the FBI's tip?
We received the tip about that post and immediately acted on it. And so that's exactly what occurred. As soon as the tip came in, we had a tip center upstairs that was staffed, as I mentioned earlier, by detectives and agents. They were going through hundreds of tips that were coming in, hundreds. We were vetting them through, ruling them out, just like the general stated. We were making sure that whatever came in, we checked it to its entire to ensure that we weren't missing anything. And so when we got to that tip, obviously, it led us to that person that we wanted to speak with, and I told you the rest earlier. So.
Yeah, and I just want to complete that too, because this is important. This person had to come forward. That's why we put the picture out. Once we put the picture out, he came forward, right? But we didn't know who that person was. We knew about what was on Reddit, but we didn't know who that person was. That's why when we identified another person, we didn't know when that person came forward that he was the Reddit poster. He then told us he was. Okay, so all of these things kind of happened in that sequence.
Chris?
This Valente figure, this is a question for President Paxson. Do we know why he left school early in 2001? Did he have a history of mental illness that was expressed during that time or reported in that time?
No, we learned his name very, very recently, and we haven't had a chance to really dig into the records, but we will if it helps with the investigation.
We're going
to follow up question.
Yeah, I mean, they just found dead.
Here on a student visa now, what school is he affiliated with?
General,
Yeah. So he's not here on a student visa now. He was initially, and then he applied for and received lawful permanent resident status in September of 2017. Okay.
Go right here.
What was Mr. Valente's profession and how did you search his residence?
Again, as I stated earlier, we just identified who obviously that person, and this developed pretty quickly. So that's all part of the investigation that's coming.
And can you talk about, was there any interaction between him and law enforcement before he died?
No, I would know.
I have a follow-up to her.
There you
And
go.
that is, do you know any associates of his family members, friends, roommates? And if there are any in the United States, did any of them come forward through the process of this investigation?
No, not at this time. This evolved extremely quickly. We've been at this for 6 days. And so here we are, and we now identify who the person is. We're about to make an apprehension. As I stated earlier, he took his own life, but that's all part of the investigation that will continue about him. Go ahead.
Okay, so President Paxson, Chief Barus said he had no known criminal history that you know of. You were asked about possible mental illness while he was here. When he was at Brown, did he have any grievances, disputes with anyone, any problems, any disciplinary issues, any problems at all that were documented?
Not that we know of at this point. I mean, again, these are very, very old records, you have to understand. We learned about this very recently. And I think going forward, as we want to learn more, we will cooperate with the investigation to give them the information they need.
Go ahead, in the white shirt.
Hi, Brittany, WCBD. This question is for Colonel Perez. You mentioned that Claudio was the primary suspect, primary focus from the beginning. If that's the case, can you elaborate more on why there was someone else detained initially, and the lead that led you to that person to being detained initially, if Claudio was the primary focus from the beginning?
Yeah, so.
And I have a follow-up.
Sure, Brittany. Great question. So we have received a tip about that first person. We have received a tip about him wanting to get a permit to carry a firearm. And so that led us to also learn that he was a person who potentially could be, it was just where he was denied and then he went to another department and the descriptions led us there. So we had it vetted through. Obviously, the FBI responded, followed through that whole tip, ended up finding the person, taking him to custody, finding him with 2 firearms, with a laser. And so it took a while for us to be able to rule him out. But it was a tip that came in. And as I stated earlier, as soon as the call came in, it was all hands on deck. And there was nothing that we were just going to say that is not anything that have to do with it, with this case. Obviously, we wanted to make an apprehension, and we went after that. So.
Yeah, I just wanted, if I could just jump in here, Mayor, I'm sorry to do that, but I think I heard you say that Mr. Valente was the suspect from the start.
Primary focus.
No, he became the primary focus yesterday at around this time. This name was not known to us until yesterday. So when our cooperator came in last night, we were able to track the car, get the name, and then we were in the position of today Do we push that name out so that you can help us find this guy? Or do we think we know where he is? And so that was the balance. That was that back and forth analysis in our minds, collective investigative team minds, was going on today. But his name did not come to us until yesterday. As I said yesterday, until you have the name, which we did not have until yesterday, after our press conference together, that's when this thing heated up. As soon as you have a name, I believe you can find anybody in this country. And the fact that this team was able to do it in around 24 hours, I think is a tribute to them, their hard work around the clock, to do exactly what we have been talking about doing, which is how long is it going to take? And it took, roughly 5 days. And that's a tribute to them.
Brittany, if I could just clarify further on that. So what I meant, obviously, it was that the image that we released within hours of that person of interest that was walking on Waterman Avenue and around the corner, that was sent out within minutes. That became a primary focus of the investigation, that person of interest. Yes.
If I may, my
Please.
follow-up. I believe it said the last address for Valente was in Miami.
Correct.
Have law enforcement in Miami been notified? Are they searching this last address for any potential evidence?
No, Brittany, absolutely. Yes, that address, I believe, was one that predicated in 2001. And so absolutely, the law enforcement agencies, both federal and local, were notified of that. They also went to that residence as well, also talked to the individuals that was at that particular residence to see if they had any type of connections or associations with Valente.
Thank you.
Absolutely. In the way back.
Question for Coronel Perez, I'm sorry. For Univision in Spanish language, what's next? Do you have any leads on the motives? Como acaba de preguntar la colega, ya registraron la vivienda en la Florida. ¿Qué es lo que viene ahora? Si es que saben cuál fue su motivo para matar a esa persona.
Sí, vamos a seguir. So the question was, what's next, right? What are we going to do next? And so la respuesta es que vamos a seguir, obviamente, trabajando con las organizaciones federales y también entre nosotros buscando esa inteligencia de quién es esa persona, qué motivo lo trajo aquí a la ciudad de Providence a cometer esta tragedia, este incidente. Pero eso va a tomar tiempo verdaderamente. Vamos a tener que averiguar y averiguar más para ver qué fue el motivo que llegó a esta ciudad.
So they're going to talk to the people, talk to their agencies, and try to figure out what a motive is, try to figure out what it was that he was doing in the area and what he'd been doing since he got there.
¿Qué podría haber sido? ¿Qué es lo que van a estar buscando ahora?
No, hasta el momento no. Esto obviamente, como acabo de explicar ahorita, lo identificamos hace poco.
Go ahead. Right there.
What brought investigators specifically to New Hampshire? Does this person have a connection to New Hampshire? I know you said it was a storage unit with this interest.
So it was the financial records that the federal agency followed through and that we were looking for of interest was parked there.
Kate, go ahead.
Chief, can you speak a little bit more to that, again, identification of the vehicle of interest, the person who did that? And as you said, there was video captured. Walk us through that aspect of this. Was this the witness who provided to you the vehicle? Can you walk us through how that vehicle of interest entered the investigation of the night before?
Correct. Yeah, it was part of the tip that was posted actually, and then also the tipster had called and had stated that this individual had a fob and was trying to enter a vehicle that was parked on Benevolent. And so because of that, we obviously knew there was a vehicle and there was a description of a vehicle. When we brought him in, he collaborated further on that vehicle. We put it out through Flock, the description of it, and we learned that within that time period, there was only a certain amount of vehicles that came up with those description fit in there. So our detectives obviously stayed on that and ended up finding this vehicle with Florida plates. And that's how we ended up with that specific vehicle. Then we had learned that the vehicle also potentially could have changed their plates. And as I stated earlier, we were able to find the vehicle on Flock, actually get the actual plate, learn that it was a car rental, which brought us up to learn that, that we needed to learn more at the rental place about the individual, which we did. And then further later, we find out, again, doing all the work that they did upstairs, I think it was tremendous too. If you had a chance and an opportunity to see how much work was put in, because it was bits and pieces of information. It's almost like putting a puzzle together. You only have just a few pieces and you're building it. And that later on led us with the financial records to learn that he rented a storage unit in New Hampshire, and that's why we ended up.
And as a follow-up to that one for the chief or the attorney general, you mentioned again, weighing that public interest versus the information that was available to law enforcement at the time, as this person, again, considered armed and potentially dangerous, was out there. The chief just spoke to license plates changing on a variety of moments, if you will. But was it too fast moving? Talk to us about weighing again that providing information to the public with an armed and dangerous individual and vehicle use that involved multiple license plates and your decision not to sort of real time inform the public.
Yeah, so we knew last night, who this guy was and that he had rented a car in Boston. So the question becomes, is he going to return the car to Boston? We got information he might return it to Connecticut. He didn't return it at all. But when we thought he might be returning it to the information, to the locations, we wanted to try to take him without him knowing we were coming. As soon as his name gets out there, he is going to be even more in the wind. And so the question becomes, if you think you might know where he is, right? Eventually you find the storage unit, right? So you're following that up. But initially you think he might return the car to Boston on Atlantic Avenue, I believe, or in Connecticut, perhaps to board a flight somewhere. You're weighing, can I take this guy because we know where he's going to be, and not alert him that we're coming. And so I would say this afternoon, we were going back and forth on that. But as the FBI and ATF and our other partners, Providence Police, State Police, developed evidence as to where he was. Ultimately, in New Hampshire, we decided to pursue to that location. And there we found the car with those multiple plates that we were looking for, a Florida plate and a Maine plate on top of it.
Right there, go ahead.
That DNA evidence, where was that tested? And also the firearms examinations. We've got some trouble with the state lab here. Where were those?
When they're done, I'll kind of break down everything that I've heard.
I just want to touch real quick, and
But I
I don't know if
understand
you'll be able to
from
answer you that, but that's a great question, Mark. And the reason for that is because when the incident first happened, it was our BCI unit that responded and collected that DNA and protected the integrity of that DNA and sent it out.
Thank you. The evidence collected, the DNA and the firearms were sent to the Connecticut State Police Lab. They had the best kept local capabilities to handle that type of evidence and do those type of examinations.
Thank you. Wheeler, go ahead.
So is there an understanding of how he got to get the rental car in Boston or what his movements were in the days and weeks before the shooting?
So if there's an understanding how he got to Boston to rent the car, is that?
Yeah, like where was he in the days and the weeks before this?
Yeah, so we're not sure about that, obviously, because we all started acting on this investigation when the incident happened, and that's when we started to follow through to learn more about it. So.
And remember, we didn't have his name until last night. So I think we'll know more about his movements as we're able to track that name. But the critical thing was, once we knew his name, was where is he right now? Certainly, going backwards, we're going to want to know how he got into the country, when he got here and all that. But today's mission was get him off the streets where he poses a danger to Rhode Islanders and ultimately the people of New England.
How close were law enforcement to him when he took his own life? Were they closing in on him? Were they minutes away, seconds away from him?
Yeah, I don't think we know that yet. I mean, I think there will have to be a autopsy done to figure out when he took his life. What we do know is that he signed into that place, but we didn't see him coming out. So I would say at that point, I think, the instinct, at least that I had, was that he had taken his own life. But certainly, if he came out,
They didn't hear a
he would have been
gunshot. It must
arrested.
have been.
That site had
Wow.
been secured by the FBI. And
He must have been dead before then.
You mentioned shell casings in the hallway. Did you start in the classroom and then move to the hallway? Can you elaborate?
It looks like as soon as he entered, he started firing. We found over 44 rounds that were fired into the classroom, and that's all actually listed in the affidavit. I really want to have some respect for the family, for the victims and the students. I think that there is no reason for us to stand here and re-victimize anybody. If I was a father and I'm watching right now, I think it will re-victimize me even more. So I really want to have patient respect on some of the questions that you asked. If you,
Did the gun jam
So-
in the shooting? Did the gun jam during the shooting?
I'm going to end with one last, I'm going to end with
How
one.
much money it cost this investigation? Brown gonna reimburse the money to the city and the state, and she gonna give some money to the gentleman, they give the license plate number, the only person.
So-
I think Brown deserves to give money to that person.
Thank you for the question. I will say I can't speak for other agencies. On behalf of the city of Providence, we have not yet assessed what the cost of this investigation. Let me finish my answer. We have not yet assessed what the cost. Ronaldo, we're done. Okay.
Okay.
Listen, one last positive announcement. As has been said multiple times, the investigation continues. I know there's lots of question around motive and otherwise. The individuals here are still hard at work. Yesterday, we gave an update with respect to the survivors. I'm happy to say that one condition was upgraded and now all 6 survivors are in stable condition. It is an important to not lose fact of the fact that 6 people are still in the hospital who I know would welcome our prayers. This has been a traumatic moment for our community. I hope that today's announcement starts the healing process and provides some closure for that. As the governor, I think, very eloquently stated, lots of people are going to leave town today, but the rest of us will all still be here, and we're going to have a long road ahead. And I know that what we do best as Rhode Islanders is support one another. I know this community will support one another to move forward after the worst act of violence that any of us can remember. The press has played an important role in helping us push out information and get to this moment today. We're very grateful for all of you. I'm sure some people will be willing to talk after the press conference. Thank you all for your time.
Has President Trump reached out to anybody on the team to congratulate them?
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
All righty, so that's the end of the press conference. I'm going to be keeping an eye out, see if there's another press conference that comes out referencing the MIT professor who was gunned down 2 days after the shooting that occurred at the Brown University that have now been linked together. You know, some of the things I said before the press conference started, you know, I'll be 100% transparent. I'd been out of town. I've been coming back and forth. I had, what do you call it? I hadn't really looked into this case quite a bit. I know it was all over the news and things of that nature, but I've been covering other cases here recently. You know, been covering Summer Wells case, missing little girl out of Tennessee, Jack and Lily, the missing missing 4-year-old and 6-year-old out there in Nova Scotia, Canada, and had some other things planned while this was going on. Had seen very little stuff, so started to look into it a little bit today. A couple of things that had really stood out to me was the fact that this person was out there casing the area for 5 hours and then made entry into a building that didn't have any cameras and things of that nature. So that kind of told me that this guy was familiar with the area. He must have known that there wasn't any cameras, had done probably some casing around, and may have been either a member of the facility or a student at some point. Then we found out today that ends up being the case. Before the conference started, I mentioned that there was a second person of interest, and there was your suspect, and that they were looking for the suspect, the second person of interest, and that there was a video that was displayed where it appeared that the suspect was running away from the person of interest. And I stated before the conference started that I predicted that there was probably some sort of interaction between the suspect and the person of interest earlier that day, and that the suspect was avoiding the person of interest because of that interaction may lead to their identification. Now, I thought, and I mentioned even that they made contact with this person, and my assumption was that that interaction was going to lead to a vehicle. And that vehicle was what's going to tie them to between, you know, the incident that occurred there at Brown University and also what happened with the MIT professor, in my opinion. And so said that before, kept saying it's my assumption, my speculation. Come to find out, it appears that to be exactly what had occurred. There was an altercation or an interaction between the suspect and the person of interest, who then apparently followed the person. It led them to a vehicle. He saw the vehicle, that this guy was trying to get into and what intersection that vehicle was at, which led to law enforcement being able to determine what type, make, model. And then they utilized what they call as flock, which is like a license plate reader. And and uh, and basically what it does is take pictures of vehicles and things of that nature. And so they were able to use that to find the vehicle. Now, a couple of things that they said here was that this guy used to attend Brown University and that he had been in the area since October. So he'd been in there for a couple of months. Now, one of the things that I said before the show started or before the conference started was that I believe that there's a possibility that the main target was the professor and that the Brown University may have been some sort of a distraction. Maybe there was a secondary motive to it, but I think that the main target was the professor. He had a relationship with the professor. They went to school together, apparently in Portugal. That's what was said in the conference. And I struggle that he would have known personally, some of the victims that were taken at Brown University. And so my thoughts are that was more so maybe a distraction, maybe perhaps there was a second motive. Maybe he felt, I don't know, like something was taken from him. I know that the professor was working on basically like free energy through fusion energy, and that basically was going to take. Now, I only like physics as a hobby, so I understand a little bit of it. It's actually something that interests me. So I go into those I look into those type of things. But basically, what it was free energy that anybody was going to be able to pull out of the air, kind of thing, some Tesla type of stuff from back in the day. And maybe perhaps, this guy worked on it. Maybe perhaps this guy felt like some of the work that he was using, the MIT professor was his. I have no idea. And maybe he felt that something at Brown University prevented him from moving forward in his life. And he had, took out his, whatever it is that he had going on with him. He took his own life, and they're uncertain based on the information that they were saying in the press conference of when it was. So what does that tell us? That tells us that, one, we know that there was a manager there because we saw a video beforehand, and there was a manager that was, held down at gunpoint at one point. And we know that they arrived there and they'd been there for some time. Now, had they heard a gunshot inside of a storage facility, that would have rang, that would have been loud. If you're outside, you would have heard it. So most likely he had been dead for some time prior to their arrival, at least 20 to 30 minutes. I'd given it a little bit longer. Now, he'd been in there since October, and they mentioned that he had rented a vehicle, and that there was a possibility that he was going to be taking it, from Boston and possibly dropping it off in Connecticut, potentially catching a plane. And so when it comes to motive and when it comes to what he was thinking and his ideas, this screams out that this guy had this plan for a while. He had his getaway plan. He had the flight, everything planned. So again, when it comes down to the Brown University shooting, if he had this plan for some time, and he'd only been there for a short period of time, at least, since October. So for about 2 months, the likelihood that he was familiar with the students that he targeted is less likely. And especially once that we get information that he was familiar with that area, that was the location of the university that he attended himself, all that kind of circulates towards that. Because remember how I said before, it's either he was targeting somebody there and he just got really lucky there wasn't any cameras and he knew his way and he knew how to get there and all this other stuff, or it was the other way around, and he was targeting that area because of its deficiencies, because of the familiarity aspect of it. And so a couple of things that I was able to pull out of the air from some of the news media, some of the information that they put out from this press conference. I'll be interested to see what the connection it is that they find. My assumption is that Will you have the relationship aspect between them two? I wouldn't be surprised, now that they're investigating that murder, if they've gone through any emails, text messages, things of that nature, if they're finding anything that may be tied to Mr. Valente, who is the deceased. Or also, I wouldn't be surprised if the vehicle is seen in cameras in the area. Now, as he mentioned, he had changed his license plates around. Maybe that's why initially they thought that there was no connection, because the license plate came back to something else or someone else. I don't know. But they went from no connection to now that there is. Both of these individuals studied in Portugal, not at Brown, but in Portugal together. And he just so happens to reside so close to Brown now. Well, maybe they did maybe they did also study at Brown, but I could have swore that the press conference mentioned it was Portugal that they studied together. And, I'm probably going to go back and listen to it just to make sure I didn't miss anything for the most part. But this kind of screams out to me that this guy had this planned. He had this planned for a while. And given the fact that he had a personal relationship at one point with the MIT professor, I strongly suspect that this was, he targeted Brown and then specifically the professor, unless he felt that the professor was going to out him for what he did at the Brown University. If he somehow knew, I don't know. To me, I don't think that's the case. But both of these guys were in physics and things of that nature. This guy was a doctor, or going to be a doctor, who was in the PhD program. Another very intelligent person who commits a very, very wild act, and then takes his own life. So put a couple of stars if you have questions for me, comments. I'm gonna be on the lookout for the other press conference that's supposed to be going on by the FBI in relations to the MIT professor. Let me see if there's anything elsewhere. There is. So where is this one at? This is on Fox News. So let's go there real quick. I think this is going to be the other one. Let's see. No, that's not it. I'm trying to find it real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if one of the mods had sent it to me yet. Okay. All right, got it here. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to find it real quick on YouTube. Got so much stuff going on right now. 1 second. And if anybody could put the link in the comments, if they see the link to it, I'd appreciate it. Here it is.
The Brookline incident?
I have no information right now as to the unit that he had actually rented. The tactical teams were there to search, and they were obviously concerned that there could be booby traps or other types of security issues. And so when they noticed that that storage unit was still locked from the outside, it was clear that he couldn't be inside. And so they started searching the abandoned or the non-occupied units with the approval of the management. And that is when they found the body right next door.
I know that you haven't had much time. Does he have any?
I'm seeing if I can find one.
The suspect had rented apparently out of Boston.
I was hoping I could get one that I could rewind.
My understanding, it was South Florida. I know that they know the address, but nothing has been made public about that yet. And I'm assuming that there will be searches.
what he did down there?
I have no information.
And just to be clear, did he fly up from Florida for this, you think? Did he travel from Florida?
Again, the motive, and we have information of his being in New England throughout 2025. But once we get the information about why he came up here, what drove him to be up here, we will share that with the public.
And how long, how long he had been a lawful permanent resident of the U.S.?
I don't have that information.
Well, I mean, the only two ties that you have or can talk about now is he went to Brown and he went to this graduate school with the professor in Portugal. I mean, those are the only two ties that you can talk about now in terms of their relationship.
That is correct right now.
Is it graduate school or undergrad?
Yeah, whatever it was, I'm sure it's in the.
They were in school.
Thank you. Question? Do you know if he was in contact with anybody either immediately before coming to New England or after he got here?
That is not information that we have to share right now.
Just one more.
Do you know, did he have any contact with anybody else besides, you know?
All right, I got the, let me pull up the one that I can pull up, this one here. I got so much stuff going on. I hope it doesn't freeze on me. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Back, let me pull this down real quick. I am going to pull up the, hey, pull it up real quick. And we'll start it over. It's not that far into it.
So we need to move down quickly. They're going to hit us at 11:25. They just
Forth on that. But as the FBI.
Valente. Earlier today, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts filed a criminal complaint under seal detailing the chain of events over the past 6 days, including information that led us to today's search of the storage locker in New Hampshire. This is what we learned during this multi-jurisdictional investigation. Nueves Valente studied at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island on an F1 visa around 2000 to 2021. He eventually obtained legal permanent resident status. Previously, he attended the same academic program as the MIT professor Nuno Loureiro in Portugal between 1995 and 2000. Although Nueves Valente appeared to reside in Florida between November 26 and November 30 of this year, he rented a hotel room in Boston. On December 1st, he rented a gray Nissan Sentra with Florida plates from a car rental agency in Boston. That same day, he drove to the vicinity of Brown University, where his car was observed intermittently between December 1st and December 12th. On December 13th, Nueves Valente entered an auditorium on Brown University's campus during a study session and began shooting at students, killing Ella Cook and Mohammed Aziz Umarzokov and injuring 9 others. Between December 13th and December 14th, Nueves Valente returned to Massachusetts. On December 15th, he murdered MIT professor Nuno Loureiro at Loureiro's home in Brookline, Massachusetts. At some point while he was in Massachusetts, he switched the plates on the Nissan Sentra to an unregistered plate out of Maine. Immediately following Professor Loureiro's murder, Nueves Valente drove to a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire, where he had rented a storage unit in November of this year. Since the December 13th shootings at Brown and the December 15th shooting in Brookline, state, local, and federal law enforcement officials have been working hand in hand around the clock to identify the shooter and prevent him from inflicting further harm. I have said this before and will continue to believe when law enforcement agencies work together, crimes are solved and the public is protected. The information we provided to you tonight would not be possible without the dedicated men and women of law enforcement in multiple districts throughout New England, including the FBI, ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshal Service, Massachusetts State Police, Rhode Island State Police, Providence Police, Brookline Police, and the Brown University Police. In addition, prosecutors for the Rhode Island Attorney General's Office and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office and federal prosecutors from Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts all contributed to this result. I also want to thank Attorney General Pam Bondi for her support in coordinating the federal response.
Questions?
Can you tell us anything about his motive and the two sets of victims and how they might be related and how he might be related to them?
That is not information that we can share right now, but as soon as that information becomes available, we will share that with the public.
Are you able to say anything of what led you to link the two crimes, perhaps initially?
Yes, the question was, how were we able to link him to the two crimes? So investigators identified the vehicle that he had rented in Boston and then drove to Rhode Island. And he was seen the vehicle was seen outside of Brown, and there was security footage that showed a person who resembled him. There was financial investigations that were going on in the background that linked him not only to that car, but also to the hotels that he had rented and the car that he had used to not only drive to Rhode Island, but then back to Boston. And then there was the security footage that captured him within a half mile of the professor's residence in Brookline. And
Told you guys it was going to be the car.
there is a video footage of him entering an apartment building in the location of the professor's apartment. And then later that evening, he is seen about an hour later entering the storage unit wearing the same clothes that he had been seen wearing right after the murder.
So you have an extensive video canvas as part of this investigation that leaves you no doubt.
This is the evidence we have right now. We are coming to you tonight because the federal complaint was unsealed, and we wanted to provide you with the information and to assure the public that law enforcement collectively believe that we have the person, that we identified the person, and that person is dead, and that he was the person responsible not only for the Brown shootings, but for the Brookline shooting.
Can you speak to before the self-inflicted gunshot? Was there any interaction between law enforcement and another Valente?
Sounds like he shot himself days ago. Like they have video of him going in, but not coming out.
No, when
Those days
investigators
ago.
went into the storage facility tonight to execute the federal search warrant, he was dead.
Do you think he entered there this evening?
No.
He entered an hour after what happened in Brookline.
Yes.
Did you know how long that storage? Did he rent that? Like how long?
Our understanding from the financial investigation is that he had rented a storage facility at the location in Salem, New Hampshire in November.
It sounds like he took his life like about an hour after he took the professor's life.
Ballistics investigation was ongoing and has not been completed at this time, so we're not going to comment on that.
Can you give us any sense of when you started to recognize perhaps that he was the same person? I know it was through video, but when it sort of dawned on investigators that these two cases were related?
It was in the last 24 to 48 hours that my understanding, like according to my understanding, is when the link began to be established. And that was mainly, he was using a phone that was obfuscating ability to track it. And he was using financial, like not credit cards that were tied to his name. And so he was sophisticated in hiding his tracks.
They were still able to find him. For those that think burner phones can hide people's locations and they can't find things, he was using gift cards and things like that, and they were still able to financially track him.
Do you know if they knew each other? Or
My understanding is that they did know each other.
Have they been in communication since that last date?
I don't have any information to provide you.
Would you call this targeted?
We're still investigating the motive in this case and trying to, because like I said, he was very careful in his communications, and we just don't have any information right now to answer that question. But when we get that information, we will share it. The storage locker in which his body was found, my information is that no.
Was that satchel in the storage?
Yes.
locker? What was that?
Can you repeat the question? I can't hear you online.
So the question was there anything else in the storage unit aside from the defendant's body? And the answer is he was found in there with his satchel. There was nothing else found in there that I am aware of, but they're still in the process of searching that facility right now.
Did he kill himself right away?
We don't have any information when he killed himself, but he was dead when investigators found his body.
Can you tell us anything about his life? Like, I think you said the last time out of Florida. Like, what he was doing? Was he working? Was he in the field of physics which he had studied? Any sort of biographical stuff you can tell us about him?
Because his identity was only become aware to us in the last 24 hours, I can't provide you with any of that information right now, but I'm sure once we have a full understanding of what he has been doing, where he has been, aside from the time when he entered into New England in November, we will provide that information. We have no information that he knew any of the victims or anyone who was at that auditorium on the night that he went in and killed.
Have you been able to find anything about when he did attend Brown, whether there were any issues, if he was there briefly, was he kicked out, you know?
That information hasn't been provided to us yet.
Given what you see on the video of the MIT professor's home, is there any doubt that he was the intended target of the killing?
The information that I know, and again, the investigations are going to continue to be able to provide you with all the answers that you are asking, is that there was no doubt that he was the intended target.
What was inside that satchel?
That is information that is still being, the investigators are still on the scene right now conducting that investigation, and we haven't received information as to what was in the satchel.
Was there any suicide note?
No information right now.
How about in terms of the charges themselves? I mean, there was the crime in Rhode Island and also the 1 year. How does that sort of get sorted out? How does it get charged, et cetera?
So there are state crimes, including the murders, and then there are the federal crimes, which is one that we brought tonight. The jurisdictions are working together, and we have been sharing information together and encouraging everyone to share information that could result in solving the crimes that were committed in their jurisdictions. And we will continue to do that. If there are any doubts that are left with closing out those investigations, we will continue to share all the information so that we can share with you whatever motivations come to light as to why these heinous crimes were committed.
Are you confident, I guess maybe that's not the right word, but do you believe that he acted alone, or is there any evidence that anyone else was traveling with him when he came here?
We have no information that he was acting in concert with anyone else right now.
Anything interesting found in the car?
That search is still underway. But we will provide you again with more information as soon as we get it.
Anything more you can tell us about?
There was there was a change in her voice. I think they did find
So
something
he
in
was
the car.
using an application on his phone, and there have been a couple of things. The Google phone doesn't allow officers to ping the direct location and get real-time location information about the phone. There was also beliefs that he was using SIM cards that were possibly European SIM cards that are carried through a provider in the United States, but does not provide real-time information about tower connections.
In the car?
The vehicle he rented, we have video of him renting the car at Enterprise here in Boston.
And the big plate?
She didn't want to say where.
We haven't figured out now where he got that plate from. It was an unregistered plate in Maine. We have information that that plate was a very old plate that had been taken out of the registration status over a decade ago.
When his body was found, can you just describe what he was surrounded by? Can you just paint the picture as to what was in that unit?
What I can say is he rented one unit. His body was found in a unit that was not occupied, and there was nothing else in there from what I have heard, but this is information that I was getting an hour or two ago from agents who were conducting the searches there. When we get further information, the information will be made public, including in the returns for the search warrant that we obtained this evening.
Was he living in it effectively since after the Brookline incident?
I have no information right now as to the unit that he had actually rented. The tactical teams were there to search, and they were obviously concerned that there could be booby traps or other types of
Especially how smart
security
he is.
issues.
You have to,
And so
you have to
when they
question those
noticed
things.
that storage unit was still locked from the outside, it was clear that he couldn't be inside. And so they started searching the abandoned or the non-occupied units with the approval of the management, and that is when they found the body right next door.
I know that you haven't had much time. Does he have any sort of criminal record that you know of at this point in time?
We are not aware of any criminal record in the United States.
Do you have any information about his life in Florida? What he did?
My understanding, it was South Florida. I know that they know the address, but nothing has been made public about that yet. And I'm assuming that there will be searches.
Profession? You think what he did down there?
Put a couple
I have no
stars. I'm going to be
information.
starring the questions here in a minute.
From Florida for this, you think? Did he travel from Florida?
Again, the motive, and we have information of his being in New England throughout 2025. But once we get the information about why he came up here, what drove him to be up here, we will share that with the public.
And how long he had been a lawful permanent resident of the US?
I don't have that information.
Well, I mean, the only two ties that you have or can talk about now is he went to Brown and he went to this graduate school with the professor in Portugal. I mean, those are the only two ties that you can talk about now in terms of their relationship.
That is correct right now.
Did you know school or undergrad?
Whatever it was, I'm sure it's in the.
They were in school.
Yeah, here's a question. Do you know if he was in contact with anybody either before coming to New England or after he got here?
That is not information that we have to share right now.
Just one more.
Do you know, did he have any contact with anybody else besides, you know, the rental, the hotel, in his travels?
That is information that I don't have to share with you right now.
There's one question. Go ahead. Is there, there was been some reports on social media by this, saying that a man who was homeless and was sort of living at Brown was the one who sort of saw him and thought he was suspicious and took his plate number and then was urged by other people on Reddit to make sure he reported. Is that true? You say there was a witness, but is the account true that he's the one that helped break this or gave a crucial tip? How would you describe that?
We did receive information from a witness who encountered him after the Brown shooting and gave information that was very helpful to the investigation and in identifying Nueves Valente.
You're going to get the 50,000?
We'll let you know.
Did you say that?
The accounts that are on the record right now is
Why
what we can
why are
comment
these
on,
reporters
and,
so
we will provide again more
infatuated about
information
who
so
gets
that the public
50,000?
will have confidence in our investigations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't understand that. I don't understand the reporters, like not just here, like the other one. Like, is this person going to get the 50K? Is that person going to get the 50K? Like, this is some sort of lottery. Like, I don't like that, but that's just me. I'm glad that they came forward. Put a couple of stars so that way I know that you guys are talking to me. I'll be answering your questions. Some more information that kind of come out. To me, it appears that it sounds like the guy took himself out immediately after taking the life of the professor in that storage unit. I know there's some crusty creators that cover like the Jack and Lily case that think that all you have to do is get a burner phone or just lie to police and they believe you, and that you can't be found. There's no digital footprint or whatever the case may be. That's not it. That's not how law enforcement works. And so in order to do something, there's got to be a trail there. In order for him to have gone from one location to another, he must have traveled past multiple light sources or camera sources and things of that nature, which, like I said, guys, I told you guys that I felt that the person of interest was going to somehow connect the vehicle. That vehicle was also going to connect them to this MIT professor. And it appears that's exactly what happened. There was a vehicle seen, and they were also able to see him going in and out of an area and tie them together to the scene. So let me answer some of y'all's questions. Crazy. Why did he need to hear we were looking for him before he came forward? He should have come forward as soon as he knew something had happened. I think you're asking about referencing the, I'm assuming the person of interest. It sounds like the person of interest did call in a tip and then also did come forward and called in the tip immediately and then came forward as well. I think they said within an hour of them releasing the image. So they released the image and then media runs with it. And the media is like, hey, we're still looking for this person. We're still looking for this person. Because the media hasn't been told by law enforcement at that point that this person of interest had came forward and spoke to them. Right. And so I think that they released the video of the suspect running from the person of interest so that people, if they were able to figure out who this person of interest were, that they weren't going to be harassed and be pointed in the direction of being an accomplice of some kind. So they air the video showing the suspect running away, which told me that either one, that the guy knew him, which I wasn't too certain about, given the fact that, the age, the guy looked like he was older. I said he looked like he was in his 40s, 48 years old. Um, his body and his build, it was heavy set, but the heavy set build that he had was more for like an older guy, like sagging areas, those are more consistent with an older guy. Even if you have a heavier set younger guy, they hold their weight a little bit better, and a little bit different. And so I could tell that it was an older guy. Um, and and I think what they wanted to do was like I said, they wanted to inform people that this second person of interest wasn't an accomplice. But to me, what it kind of screamed out to me was that there was some kind of situation, whether it was an incident, an altercation, or something that was going to be able to identify the suspect to the person of interest. Now, maybe perhaps by then, because this person of interest stuff just came out, right? The second person of interest just came out not too long ago, a couple days ago. Maybe that kind of led him to carry out his own demise, him taking his own life, because it sounded like he was going to return the vehicle back to Connecticut. It may be flying out there to somewhere else. And that doesn't sound like he was planning on ending his life in a storage shed. Maybe perhaps he assumed, because of that interaction with the bystander, or the Good Samaritan, we'll call him the Good Samaritan, with the Good Samaritan, that it was going to end up resulting in him getting caught, that his vehicle is going to be located, that there was going to be a few other things that were going to end up catching him in that direction. And so I think that plays a huge role. Let's see. But yeah, I think he came forward right away, according to law enforcement. And like I said, I thought that his interaction, and this was before the conference came out. So those crusty creators who think that you can't deduce information based on what law enforcement is telling you, or based on what's information that's being out there. It's a good example of that. Let's see. Why do you think the Witten didn't come forward? Okay, now the same one. How did he get a license plate that wasn't in circulation? That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't know how he managed to do that. I don't know if he went to like a junkyard or something and maybe found one on a vehicle that was still there. It's a good question, to be honest with you. I have no idea how he got a hold of one. I think it was also like a different one from like a different place. I know somebody in the comment section was like, kind of sounds like the Melody Buzzard situation, where she was able to acquire fake or license plates that weren't in circulation anymore, if ever, from websites and things of that nature. And so this guy seems like he was on his P's and Q's when it comes to certain things. He was able to get away from being tracked. He had SIM cards from other places. I mean, this guy was leagues, to me, it sounds like he was probably a lot smarter than Brian Koberger, a little bit more ahead, and he still got caught very quickly. And so again, those crusty creators, I think that some folks can outsmart law enforcement when there's such a digital footprint out there. I would recommend, I would say, if you're a criminal and you keep thinking you can get away with things. Let's see. Put a couple of stars so I know you're talking to me. Let's see. Don't like it either. Message you serious. What's going on? Definitely looked older, in my opinion. Agree. Yeah, he definitely did. I definitely think he planned this for a while. I think so too. I think he did. I think he planned this for a minute. And I think that something didn't go, to plan, obviously, because he took his life. And I think he had other plans for that, given the information they talked about Connecticut and stuff like that. I think that's the case. But yeah, I think he did plan this for some time. I wonder why. I wonder if he felt slighted by the work that the professor was doing, because like I said, it had to do with fusion energy and free energy, which brings on its own conspiracies on its own, because when you're dealing with the energy and the energy company and perhaps something that could take away from the profits from the gas and oil companies, conspiracy seems to follow those stories, so to speak. Spicy thing. I don't know why I'm being spicy, but yeah. Crusty. I mean, that's what they look like, right? Like, all crusty. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. Who are we talking about? I'm late. Yeah, we're talking about the Brown University suspect. Let's see. I think I got his name down here somewhere. Let me pull it up. I know I do. Oh man, I did. Let me see. I think it was like Claudio something. Claudio Manuel Nueves Valentin, or yeah, Valente. There you go, not Valentin, Valente. Claudio Manuel Nueves Valente is his name, from Portugal, 48 years old, lived in Miami. Current home address is 1310 Northeast 200th Street. But he hasn't lived there in a minute, so I probably shouldn't even have said that. I was just reading this off of the information that is out there. They've checked his house. People that live there, nobody go bother them. He hasn't been there in a while. Nicknames, Claudio M. Nothing crazy. Let's see. 48 years old, Portuguese national, and a U.S. legal resident. No sources indicate any employment or career after leaving Brown over 2 decades ago. The deadly sin of envy led to the lethal wrath. That's what a lot of folks are thinking. A Brown student from 2000 to 2004 for computer engineering, F1 visa for Brown University. Was legally registered and ID'd in 2018. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. But yeah. All righty, guys. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. I'll be back on tomorrow night. It's Football Friday, so I think we'll be doing that. I'll also be talking a little bit about, probably some more updates. I'm off tomorrow, so some more updates come out, some more things that come forward. I'll be talking about that. If the crusty creators want to come out and talk, we can talk about the crusties. That's the ragtag group. If you guys don't know who they are, it's a ragtag group of individuals. They go around different cases, thinking they know more than, well, obviously they think they know more than they do, but they think they know more than law enforcement. Like literally one of them, because they believe that that the parents and the Jack and Lily Sullivan disappearance had something to do with Jack and Lily. This is how stupid they are. They came up to me, one of them came up to me and said that I need to just tell the truth and say that Daniel and Malaya did something to their kids, and that is what RCMP is waiting on. They're waiting for me to change my mind about the evidence that's there so that they can go make the arrest. That's how stupid these people are. Don't be one of them. Don't be a crusty. We're going to call those folks the crusties. We heard of the pro burgers. Now we have the crusties. We got the crusties. You guys have a good night. We'll see you guys later. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Thank you. Peace out.